it was 80% or 80 schools in the state of Illinois this year where not a single student tested proficient or above in math.
Wow.
So as the gap of these systems becomes larger because they're creating more and more technology that is based on these advanced mathematics, especially as we get into quantum, and what that's going to require in terms of knowledge. That foundation of education is only being broken for certain groups of people who are the ones who are going to be the most impacted by the displacement these systems cause.
Wow. How far do you think, let's say the Black and brown community is collectively behind right now as quantum and all these other things are happening, but how far are we behind just even to start with?
I think that's the wrong question because I think is catching up the right thing.
Ooh.
Right? We're always framing our progress and who we are and our resources in comparison to the way that the system has currently been designed. And I think the better question is, what can we build with what we have? And what we see a parallel to that and the type of seismic shift that can have is when you look at DeepSeek, right? DeepSeek came out and scared the American stock market and had made everyone rethink their entire approach to developing AI. Now, what was the motivation for DeepSeek doing that? Well, there was the export restrictions on the chips. So before the restrictions went into place, they bought a bunch of that version of the chip. So it's like at this point, 2-3 years old. And they said, well, look, we're not going to get the same chips as NVIDIA. We're not going to get the same chips as OpenAI. These are the chips we got. So can we do some new math? Can we do something different to make the chips more efficient? Can we do the AI a different way? And they came up with a whole new way of doing large language models and training reasoning models called Mixture of Experts because they needed to if they wanted to compete with what they had. And so I think it's not about are we behind, it's what do we have? We have the storytellers, we have culture, we have knowledge, we have people who in our communities now versus 60 years ago are more educated in the sciences and in the math and in technology than ever. How are we creating a new modality of education to catch our kids up?
Have you heard that Microsoft created a new state of matter?
Mm-hmm.
So how does that affect us and our need to catch up?
I would say that the reality is that science is going to be assisted by these tools. This thing about agentic AI is more scary for me because the accuracy rate of all this stuff is going to go down because they're based on large language models. And large language models don't understand language. There's a research paper I always bring this up. ChatGPT is bullshit is the name of the research paper that explains, that was published in Nature, it's cited thousands of times, it explains how they don't understand language, and because of that they will always make things up. There's no way to eliminate hallucinations out of the large language model. So if you're chaining a bunch of them together, like here goes one large language model that I'm gonna ask to go do my sales, here goes my other large language model that I'm gonna go ask to do my research report, and then I'm gonna have this one go gather the old studies, and I'm gonna have this one go write the experiment, and this one go conduct the experiment. What if it makes stuff up along the way? How will anybody know? And this is something that's not just in science, it already happened. You could look up a startup called 11X, and 11X is they got like $50 million from like all the big VC firms to make an agentic sales team, right? And you know what happened with that agentic sales team?
This might be the most
It
important
didn't
person
work
you
because
meet
they kept
today.
making stuff up. And so like they had this weird sales cycle where like 80%
I'm going to
of
break
their
and
customers
introduce you
cancel.
as one of the apprentices.
It's a limited technology. You can't undo that. So
Right.
then why are you turning that on to grade our kids' tests at the end of the year? Or why are you turning that on to write down what I say in my doctor's appointment? Or what you mean you finna turn that on to tell me about the laws in the government? When it makes stuff up, and it's a factor of how that technology works. You can't undo it. I don't like that. That's more so what I'm concerned about. So if you're gonna have an AI agent that's a scientist based on a large language model, will science even be real anymore?
Good question.
Wow.
This conversation is going really well. Now, we put you on the main stage. Let's take a break here and introduce ourselves. Names, a little bit of background.
we
and
can
we'll
start.
continue this
Yes,
conversation.
Well, Shane, why don't you introduce
education
yourself,
and
man? Because I want you actually in on this. This seems to be some part of your alley that I want you to unlock.
Okay,
So
perfect.
introduce yourself first, because nobody knows as much as you know about how to connect and unlock, X on the things that she can do to help us.
Okay, perfect. Well, my name is Shane Hyman. I'm the founder and president of Next Level Global Technologies, Inc. startup corporation leveraging the Jobs Act with a pathway from startup to the stock market using those exemptions that were made for us. When I say us, the act itself names 3 different categories of disadvantaged people: women, minorities, and veterans. So we're taking our technology and we're, as a software publisher, creating applications and solutions for things that matter, such as workforce, apprenticeship, education, mentorships, as Kevin Clark says, all of the ships. So in addition to my tech startup, I'm also a board advisor with Dakar and just putting some systems together. But I really love where this conversation is going. We're talking about education, and really at the end of the day, that's the root, right? It's the foundation, and we need our students to be more proficient in math and science and all of these different things, so that way they can be prepared for what we have as the pipeline, starting with pre-apprenticeship that prepares them to then capitalize on apprenticeship programs where they can exercise the skills that they're learning, get paid work experiences, to then get placed for long-term income opportunities, whether it's through employment or whether it's through gig work as an entrepreneur. That's one of the problems that we're facing right now. You know, it is National Apprenticeship Day, and there's an executive order for 1 million apprentices. But you know, we can fill the pipeline with more apprentices, but where's the data metrics of placement? Where's the data metrics of actual income opportunities? And you know, to your point, X, when you're talking about technology, you know, one of the things that we're working on is the ability to create data sets and to use predictive modeling and predictive analytics to help us kind of chart out and map out that pathway to be a little bit more intelligent in terms of who we're putting into the pipeline, what areas we're training them for, and how we can literally, when the time is right, connect them to paid opportunities. So we've got to analyze the market demands and be more intelligent about our operations, so that way we have more proof in the pudding, more showmanship, and that's kind of what Dakar is working on. And we're just here to create, as my partner John Schindler says, is MVP, minimum viable products, processes, and in this case platforms, technology systems, okay, and MVS, minimum viable steps, and then we break it down to IS, which is incremental steps to take it step by step. So with that being said, that's my framework. That's kind of what I'm passionate about, and I really love the conversation that's happening right now. Thank you all.
Right. Is there any chance to get a 4 shot, or is no chance, huh?
Well,
You too.
No, I still want you in this. I'm with, yeah.
Kevin, can we also close that door? I just don't want there to be
Yeah,
cross
please.
talk with you guys.
Yeah, please. Yeah, because
Watch my Warriors.
I know we got 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
Go steal me, let me know.
you should have heard all the comedies.
Everybody's smooth.
Yeah, I'm back in the Oracle days.
Me too.
Oakland, okay?
Me too. Look, I used to go to the games as a kid. My grandpa had season tickets.
Okay, okay.
I was there when we had Antoine
Yeah, well,
Jameson,
oh man. Well, you know, I go back a little further though. But
Stojakovic.
no, I'm talking about people that, you know, Rick Barry. Okay? OG Warriors. Yeah. But yeah, so intros. Maybe we can do this without the stream, or do you want to get them in the stream doing the intros?
Well, it's all here.
We got it? Okay, let's start with intros. Again, which way should we start? We got you.
Go first.
Okay.
Hi, my name is White Harris. I'm a mentor with the Dakar Foundation. I'm also a project manager, and I'm helping today bring all these apprentices together to understand the power of being educated and responsible creative professionals and working with such a unanimous team. Thank you so much to the Dakar Foundation, Chris J. Alex, and Vire Network for providing such a magnificent space for us to hone our skills and be be the next level creative professionals that we aim to be.
Okay. Okay. Next.
Peace, everyone. My name is XIA, like Yippee-I-A. I'm an artificial intelligence researcher. I'm a software engineer. I've worked at Microsoft. I created my own research teams when I was at Google, and now I help companies and governments around the world figure out how to build AI that helps more people than it harms. I'm excited to help Dakar Foundation figure out how to help you guys build the next generation of AI and future technologies. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic.
Yeah, my name is Giovanni Perez. I'm an apprentice here for the pre-apprenticeships at Dakar, and I'm really loving everything that's been involved. Kept really mentored me. About me, I'm a veteran. Got out back in 2012. Did 3 tours, got hurt and stuff like that. Had my own transition. And something I've learned throughout my time of being out and transitioning out was just, give back to my community. I think that's where I really found my why. So what I want to do here is just, I've entered into a space of going back into school, working on my master's now, trying to get into like communication branding and stuff like that. But I really love telling the stories of a community and a brand and how both can help each other make a market without someone purchasing it. You can't make a brand without someone wanting to buy it. So I just love telling those stories together, and that's hopefully what I can tell here in this part.
Hi, my name is Mercedes. I am a registered nurse with 13 years experience. Currently focused on entering more of the space of outside of Western medicine in the seeding stages of pushing my brand for health and wellness. That is really just focused on lifestyle and adding to your lifestyle. So not to take away, but whatever your practices are right now, we want to add to find some balance in what you can do to have a wholesome lifestyle. Focus on naturopathic medicine and all the healing that comes with that. I am interested in mentoring within the space of health and wellness and healing, and I'm open to all that is on this panel. Thank you for having me.
Okay, great. I'm going to ask a question that I hope everybody can answer in their own authentic way. Wyken, I'll start with you first. Why do you think you're here?
I think I'm here today because I see the power of community, and I can see that with all these young people that we have here today, everybody is driven, everybody has a story, everybody here is willing to give themselves to make an impact in their communities and really showcase that this each one teach one model that we aim to create can really benefit the greater world around us and allow us to build bridges to brighter futures. And I mean that on an occupational sense, an educational sense, and a resource sense, because a lot of the people that we deal with or operate with are from disinvested communities. So we need to serve those underlying, issues or tribulations they may be facing to perform proper triage, so that way we can, be of help and create something that, makes a lasting impact in a positive way for these apprentices and students that are coming within this program.
Okay, great. And X, I know why you're here. You're here to help that car, but really, what brought you from a young person all the way to who you are now to be able to help us?
The reason why I'm here, because there were people who had the skills and cared enough to pass them on to me and helped expand my imagination about what was possible and what I'm capable of doing in moments when I didn't believe. And at every step of my career, having what later became called mentors, which you guys call apprenticeships, are the reason that I was able to be someone who still hadn't finished a formal college education but become published in one of the top computer science journals, is because I had mentors who taught me how to do it, spent time with me week by week, step by step. So I feel like as in honor of my own journey, it's only right that becomes a part of my journey, like what I do day to day. So that's why I'm here.
Okay, Gio?
Yeah, what brought me here today is giving back. A lot of what you said and what this whole thing is, since I started and met everyone here, Kevin's kind of put me different than everybody else, which isn't bad, but he's given me room to speak my voice, help him create, which is help me create, and give me a platform to speak my voice, especially my perspective of someone who is re-entering the workforce, who's transitioning into a new lifestyle and education, new workforce, things like that. So it's really amazing. So it's my way of being able to say thank you and just be able to share my space.
Okay.
And I'm here today just because I want people to know that there are so many things that you can do that work towards your health and work towards your wellness, whether it's mental health, whether it's spiritual health, whether it's physical health. There are things that you can do every single day to work towards just being a better version of you, and it just incorporates the things that you already do and the things you already learned, maybe making some tweaks and adding to, and knowing that it's accessible to everyone. Everyone should have access to care. Everyone should have access to preventative care, and knowing that it's possible for everyone. Conditions can be reversed, conditions can be treated, and conditions can be prevented. So I'm really passionate about just educating people on all the knowledge that I've learned versus both traveling internationally and working nationally, almost every state at this point, and all the health systems and all the things that I've learned along the way. So mentorship is really important to me because I feel like it's a trickling effect of one person to the generations. And so if we want to set the next generations up, we have to be very loud about the changes that need to be made now and preventative. And so we're working from a standpoint of, preventative versus reaction. Yeah.
Okay, great. I have one more question because I know the game's coming on. Shane mentioned this thing called the ships, internships, apprenticeships, scholarships, apprenticeship, again, stewardship. But mentorship is the one that started me with nonprofit work. So I have to ask this question of everybody. Tell me about somebody who was a mentor, and how can you share with anybody listening how you can get a mentor? Because that's a tough thing. I've never had one. So I'll start with Wyken.
So for me, I started off just kind of doing it on my own. So I started my own creative agency, and then through working through my agency, I was able to meet one of my first mentors, which was Jimmy Powers, who owned a recording studio. So by talking to him, he's been in business not only in the recording studio lane, but he actually has his own tech agency. So for one of the things that he taught me first was business is business. So once you understand one business model, you can apply it and formulate that to all the other things that you're doing. I think when it comes to finding a mentor, you got to be in the right place at the right time. Key example of that was when I first showed up to the first ever time I met Kevin Clark was at one of his Dakar events with the Lead the Divide, and I showed up on a whim because my cousin was invited there, and at the time I'm still currently working as a teacher with the Solar Foundation. I was like, wow, what a great opportunity to meet like-minded people who are actively engaging in the community. And over the span of 6 months, and I've spent countless days learning from Kevin. He's put me in a position now where I'm a project manager for Dakar, and over the past 6 months, his mentorship has put me in a position from just a 26-year-old kid to a grant writer, political activist, community transactionist, and just put me in key rooms where people are so happy and excited to meet me, and I'm just 26 and I look at the valley, but what he's put me on and the things I've been able to do with this knowledge has made generational impacts in my community. And my whole thing is philanthropy and giving back to the community. I think that's the biggest thing is what we need to learn how to do with mentorship is how to take this knowledge and invest back into our neighborhoods and share this knowledge, because mentorship really looks like taking the time to have a conversation with the person next to you.
Okay.
I'll say first about getting a mentor. Before you get a mentor, you have to have a goal. Someone can't direct you if you don't know where you're going. And so the first step is to check in with yourself about what your destination is, and then figure out where along this path you need help. And if you need help figuring out the path, then that's your goal. And you ask around and figure out who's willing to help. And you go to events where you'll meet people who are more likely to help, right? Like in this day and age, there's an AI event every weekend in every major city in every country. So if you want to get into tech, you can go there and just at the happy hour, go out and socialize. I know it's uncomfortable. You don't have conversations off screen anymore, right? But you go out, you meet people, you post what you're learning, you create content. If you're a person who loves creating content, just make content about your journey. And you never know who will reach out to you, but it's important that you have a goal. When I was the mentorship part that I was talking about earlier, I knew that I wanted to be a published research author. So that'd be so fire if, like, before I got a bachelor's, I had like a published paper just because I'm here. That'd be dope, but I have no idea how to write a research paper. That was not one of the math classes I took. And so when I went to my mentor, my first question was, what do I need to learn about this process so I could figure out how you can help me along it? And so she gave me a list of things to go research and read, and I came back with a report and a series of questions. And then she was like, oh, well, you're gonna do the work. Okay, cool. So then we ended up working on it together with that research team we created, was the skin tone research team, which taught AI how to see black and brown skin tones. And that woman was Dr. Timnit Gebru, who ended up getting fired from Google for passing off a research paper that explained how dangerous some of their AI models were. And you never know. Again, it's just a matter of having the goal, making the ask, and when someone says no, not taking it personally, and a sign that your goal is not valid, just that is not the person who's going to help you along the way, and that's okay. Like rejection is redirection. So I think have the goal, make the ask, and then put yourself in a position to meet the right people at the same time that can help you on your journey, and get involved with that Car Foundation.
Wow. You?
Yeah.
Mentorship.
Mentorship. I don't know if I've had like dedicated people that are mentors to me. I think I've met people along the way of my life that I've been able to capitalize on that network. Each person that I've encountered, we've shared our own moments that I can gain and learn from them. But I value them, right? And I still reach out back and forth. But it's something where I wish that I could, but it's something that I've extended myself. Even now, I'm extending myself to professors and just like, just recently I got into USC. So when I was talking to, I asked for a mentor through USC because I was like, I need to take advantage of this expensive ass bill, right? And they put me with this professor, and I remember the first time I met him, and he was just like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "All right, we're just talking and talking." And I shared with him, I had like this imposter syndrome, right? Didn't really feel like I belonged there. Everybody around me didn't look like me, didn't feel like me, and I was explaining to him, I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this first year because this is gonna be big. And like he just told me, he's like, look, you're here for a reason. Little did I know that he was on the board, and he was like one of the ones that saw my application, right? So he's like, you're here for a reason. We chose you for a reason, and you just need to accept that. And once you start accepting that, you're gonna start moving along freely. I was like, yeah, sure, right, whatever, dude. And I pushed through that first semester, and now he's my professor for this semester, and we got to talk, and he's just like, dude, you're like smiling. You're a different person from the day that I saw you. And I was like, yeah, I took your advice. I just accepted that this is where I'm supposed to be. So every time when I walk on campus, I'm like, yeah, this is me. Those small little keys and things like that are the momentum of me to keep my fire. But I also know those key moments for me help me succeed. So I always try with anybody got try to push that knowledge, share some insight, and I've been able to be successful with my own peers by doing this. We talked about the veteran community. I'm a big brother to a lot of my junior Marines, so I've gotten the 2 o'clock in the morning call that I've been drunk and facing some adversity. So I need that's the brotherhood or mentorship that needs to be given, and so I try to give them that as much as has been given to me.
Great.
I think I have a few great mentors in life. Number one was my background. I come from the hood, and so just looking around me was the best teacher that I had, and looking at my family situations and the causes and effects of living certain lifestyles. I knew that wasn't something that I want. Then when I got old enough and I actually got my career and stepped into my career, my patients became my greatest mentors. Living, vicariously through them, and whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, whether they had made great decisions in their life or they had made really bad ones that led to, I would sit down and I would just listen to their stories. And so just taking that in, and I think also they taught me to not have fear to live life, because when you're dealing with someone who is at the sickest stage in their life or on their deathbed, they got a lot of things that they can offer you and tell you, hey, don't do this, don't focus on this. These are the things that matter. And so they pushed me to live out my dream and have wanderlust. And so I started traveling really, really hard, really fast, 5 countries a year, and going to different places where, they don't have American tourists. They have holes in the wall, and just listening to their stories and their lifestyles and the things that we take for granted every single day. That was a great teacher for me. I didn't have a physical one person that I would say taught me, to be who I am today. And I think that is so important for me, especially as a middle sandwich generation, to give back to the youth, where it's like, you know what, no one taught me about a credit card or credit, but I'm gonna put you on mine, and I'm gonna teach you how to use it, and I'm gonna teach you what to do. So really it started me giving back to my family, and then my humanitarian efforts just expanded beyond that.
Wow.
Well, mentorship for me, I believe, starts with AA. Now, when I say AA, I'll start by joking by saying, "Hi, my name is Shane Hyman," but that's not what I meant when I said AA. I mean ambition and attractiveness. Okay, meaning that you have to be ambitious enough. You have to have a goal, and you have to be actively pursuing it, and that is attractive. You know, and you will attract mentors to you, and you have to be open and receptive to listen and follow the guidance and get the result from it and continue that process and gain more momentum through the mentorship process. And I'll speak just very briefly how that unfolded for me. My professional career started officially when I was 16 years old as a barber. So I had a mentor approach me because I was ambitious. I was cutting hair, I was marketing myself. I built up my clientele to a certain degree where the local shop owner noticed that a lot of clients were no longer coming to his shop. They were coming to my father's garage where I was cutting. That's attractive. The mentor approached me. Hey, this is very impressive, but what you're doing is actually not correct. You're supposed to be licensed. This is a professional career. This is regulated. You could actually get in trouble. But I will mentor you if you're willing to listen and follow instructions. And he set me up. I was willing to follow. He said, go to adult school. I'll show you where to enroll. Do your hours and get your apprentice license as a barber apprentice. When you do that, you can hang that apprentice license with me and you can cut hair legally in my shop. And I'll teach you how to run your barber business as a business instead of a hustle. And if you'd like to learn how to run a shop, then I'll teach you that as well. So mentorship is an opportunity, and what I like about how the market has changed from internship to apprenticeship is it directly speaks to my personal story. So the mentorship and the apprenticeship was hand in hand, and these are the type of systems that we're so fortunate to be developing here with Dakar, with all the wonderful people who are willing to mentor and guide and give back. So that's what I have to say about that.
Okay. And I'll take us out by saying that I've never had a mentor for myself personally. I believe I probably have. I just don't know if I can pinpoint one person. But all you guys here today are mentoring this program. And I was told that mentors are people who give unconditionally. They have big hearts, big ears, and little mouths. And so, again, I appreciate everything that has happened today, and especially the folks here in these chairs, because, I'm going to take this and, pitch it to a lot of other people who don't know how to get involved with mentoring, but want to. So, again, I want to thank each and every one of you guys. And, again, this concludes our day, National Apprenticeship Day 2025. Go get it. All right. Thank you.
All right.